It is a grotesque time to be an investor for Intel. CPU issues, other companies taking market share, NPU's preferential treatment, ARM revolution, layoffs, and outsourcing are all piling up on the company like,
I can't think of the right analogy.
oh, I got it. A pile of Not very creative, huh?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Oh, anytime this sort of thing happens, you'll get people from both sides. Some saying they could see it coming from a mile away, while others being dumbfounded. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. So, are you guys ready for some informed speculation from your average novice? Let's look at the timeline of events. With the introduction of Ryzen series in 2017, industry started to realize, oh, AMD is actually a viable alternative. It is by no means a first-time realization, but it was definitely significant. In a couple of years, Ryzen was a legitimate competitor to Intel. Their EPYC lineup was a serious competitor to Intel Xeon series. And how did Intel respond? Not well. They basically had the monopoly on the architecture for so long that they were sitting comfortably in their comfort zone. As a result, we had multiple processor iterations where the upgrades were barely noticeable. AMD kept drastically shrinking their process nanometer, and Intel didn't. Both companies traded blows back and forth for years, but Intel had another strategy in mind. They were gonna come after their graphics card. Intel Arc, a GPU lineup, was introduced in 2022. For the longest time, these cards were hot and cold, their driver issue being the cream of the molding crop. At the affordable price point, both Nvidia and AMD offered amazing cards. For Intel's most recent batch of problems, we begin in 2022. The CEO announced that there was a layoff coming, root cause being the reduction of operating expenses. Yeah, the company explained their low profit margins and high production costs, which will translate into a layoff. Less than a year later, there was another layoff in May 2023. This one was accompanied by a different reason, however. Cutting back research and development. 2024, a loss of $7 billion was reported for Intel's foundry unit, and they outsourced 30% of their production to stop the bleeding. We should keep in mind that outsourcing is like a poorly installed bandage on a deep wound. Even Intel said they aim to reduce it to below 20% in the coming years. As this wasn't enough, their 13th and 14th gen CPUs started seeing crashes and failures due to elevated operating voltage. Do you think that's what happens when you cut your R&D team and outsource? I don't have an answer to that, just an observation. Recently in July, rumors of another layoff started spreading. This created massive panic. So before and after the layoffs, Intel lost a total of $39 billion in market capitalization, also resulting in a decrease of 50% in its stock price. A blend of industry adjustment, lack of adaptability, and bad decisions contributed towards this situation. But there might be another event that we absolutely cannot overlook. I'm talking about the M series of chips, of course. Apple, one of the biggest players in the industry, ditched Intel to gain more control over their in-device hardware. When they introduced the M1 chip based on ARM, everyone was stunned. I even talked about back in 2021 how the CPUs were changing forever. I was under the impression that except for a very few use cases, ARM is never gonna come close to x64. Apple proved me wrong, and Snapdragon is now hammering in the point. So, in conclusion, I don't really think we have a simple solution here. Normally in my perspectives, we close off with a recommendation, but this is tricky. Let's try anyways. First up, we need more transparency from Intel, especially regarding their processors. If there is an identified issue, let the consumers know immediately. How did the issue happen? How did it pass from your SOPs and failsafes? What have you done to mitigate the situation? And what further modifications have you made to your standard practices to avoid a similar situation and plausible issues? In the rectification process, I don't think that extending your warranty is enough. There should be more options for the affected consumers. Secondly, if they're going to continue with their GPU lineup, they need to position them effectively. Maybe start out with affordable cards and then work up to the premium lineups. To me, their value proposition is all out of whack. Thirdly, keep your compatibility strong. For specific use cases, Intel is still the best choice out there. For example, the emulation use case. The developers who can take advantage of their AVX 512 instruction set, the emulation gains are huge. Fourthly, you need to step into ARM and avoid the initial ARC disaster, which might be tough given the cuts in R&D. Fifthly, I really regret committing to this numbering scheme. Sixthly, and this might just be me, but stop catering to your investors in the short run. Your operating strategy should be the maximum utilization of your resources while leaving room for innovation. Let investors know that this might be a long run thing. How are you going to compete with these cuts left and right? The only thing it's going to create is more panic. Remember, you're not just catering to the existing investors, you're also catering to the potential future investors. We don't need Intel to become irrelevant, we need it to get better and come out with better, more competitive products. It'll be the best move for consumers and competition within the industry. And if you think that, hey, that's too ambitious, they're not going to be able to do this, the ship has already sailed. Need I remind you that AMD, under the leadership of Lisa Su, did something even more ambitious than this, competing in a heavily monopolized industry. And I know that Intel isn't the only one going through a rough drought. We have seen stagnant results across the board, especially in 2023. And that is going to be a challenge for sure. But part of the reason is people don't need to upgrade. Give people a substantial upgrade or an exciting product. But we did see a recent increase. So this was an analysis of the business side of things. If you want to get into details and the nitty-gritty, you know where to go. Thanks for the support, guys. Please like and subscribe because...
Alright then, so be it. The little monkey boy burrito might hit this spot anyway. Sounds yummy.
This is Rogue Hat. Catch you guys later.